Hello everyone, so today we're going to do a physical exam on a horse, and we're starting out here in my hypothetical office before we head out to the farm to kind of mock a real visit. So most of your equine practices and your large animal are ambulatory, so you usually have an at-home office or a clinic that you base out of, and then you go from there out into the field. So things to take in consideration with making your time for your appointment is where you're going, what tools you might need. Are you seeing one horse? Are you seeing a lot of horses? Is this a young horse? For example, today we will be working on Mac, who is an 8-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred. He is a younger, more sprightly horse and is very playful, so we definitely wanted to leave more time for this appointment. One of the things I wanted to share about an equine physical exam, it is going to be a little bit longer than your in-person clinical assessment for, say, a small animal. There's kind of 3 aspects to the equine evaluation. You want to do an at-distance exam, you want to do an up-close and personal physical exam, and then most practices do include some version of a basic locomotion. Not anything super extensive, but something to get a baseline to make sure your horse is moving correctly. So the first thing that I will do with my client, and this would be a great time to do it while you're doing kind of introductions or even your at-distance exam, is to get your history and kind of ask them all the pertinent questions. How is the patient doing? Eating, drinking, peeing, pooping okay? Horses get their stalls mucked out every day, so it's easy visualization for a lot of those things. I'll talk to the client about any past pertinent history. I will ask about, especially with horses, their exercise, their routine, their regiment. Mac is a hunter jumper horse. He is working about 4 to 5 times a week. 2 of those times being either in a lesson with the trainer or being ridden by the trainer. And currently he is on a diet of free choice Timothy hay and a 2-pound of Calm Ultra with half a scoop of alfalfa pellets and a scoop of Platinum Performance twice daily. So these are all really important to kind of get ahead of the time before you either put your hands on the horse or start looking at the horse. Really try to build out that conversation with your client and also use your environment around you to give you clues and indications of how the horse is living and being managed in its everyday life. Okay, so we're going to do a distance exam. Usually I'd like to do this in an arena where he's allowed to run free or out in a pasture, but we tried to put him out in his pasture and he freaked out a little bit because his pasture buddy was not out there. So we're going to work with what we got, which is kind of half the battle with a lot of your large animal livestock. But when you're doing like a distance exam, you're going to want to take in like meditation. Are they bright, alert, responsive? What activities are they taking in? We're going to do it in a stall a little bit. Some owners or clients will have stall cameras, which you can use as well. Are they drinking water? Are they passing feces, urinating, partaking in any stereotypical behavior? So we'll just kind of come in here a little bit. He notices us, so he's going to interact with us. I'm going to ask him to back up. I'm just taking into account for what's in his stall. And I also see some poop in there. So for a physical exam, if you get poop, try to grab a sample because both of them look quite fresh. I'll want to do like a fecal egg count and just kind of taking into account if there's any like nails or anything sticking out in the stall. Again, we're interacting with him, so we're taking a little bit of the purpose of a distance exam. But he at this time will not permit us to do an in the pasture evaluation. So we're going to use this right now for the welfare and kind of the ethics of the animal, just because that was stressful at the time for him without his pasture buddy. So when I start with horses, I always start from the left side. This is where they're trained to be handled, to mount, to dismount, whenever you introduce new things to the horse. For example, if you're bathing the horse, you always start at the shoulder. So I just kind of want to make sure I'm greeting them from this side to kind of help ease them. Say hello. He is a young horse, so he's going to be a little antsy, but that's okay. We're going to work with it, okay? Hi, buddy. You're a good boy. Okay. So when I come and look at the horse, I'm going to come up and look at his face. I'm looking at symmetry of the eyelashes. We'd like to see them more horizontal. If we see one maybe drooping down, it might give us an indication that there might be some swelling that could be pushing those eyelashes down. To me, his eyes look bright and clear. Without doing an in-depth eye exam, everything appears to be normal at this time. I can test his medial and lateral canthi, and then also, hi Bubba, good boy. Just kind of look all the way around. I can see he's got some medium-sized corpora nigra. You might. Good boy. Can you hold on a second? You good boy. I'm just gonna borrow this real quick. I know. You see your eyeballs? Watching his pupil constrict down. Good boy. And just also looking through the face for kind of symmetry, lumps, bumps, anything that's kind of abnormal. And again, he's a young kid, so he's probably gonna play a little bit with me. So I'm just gonna kind of work with him as I go. One thing to be careful is, especially with your horses, is not to put your face directly in front of their head, because they can kind of come upwards and hit you in the face. You're more than welcome to pass. So I'm gonna come inside. You're feeling kind of the medial aspect of the mandible. These are where some peripheral lymph nodes, or in horses, they have the lymphocenters, are gonna sit. If they are swollen, they're pretty prominent. His are quite small. Sometimes they can be very difficult to find. And he's being very good about this. Something that I'll also do, you can't see from this side, but you can see from this side, is I'll come up behind the ramus of the mandible, go quite high and press pretty deep. And I'm gonna try to see if I can find his thyroid gland. It's not always palpable. Some horses don't tolerate it super well, but it's definitely worth a try to go for it. Good boy. Good reward, building a good relationship. I'm gonna come up here. We're gonna look at his teethies. Okay. He's also got a tattoo, which I'm not surprised about. That is from his thoroughbred life. And we're gonna go ahead and check CRT. So I'm gonna press really hard on the gums. We went pink to white really quickly, so I would say the CRT is less than 2. If you can also, horses are really interesting because you can look at their teeth and kind of guesstimate where they're at. You can look at the dental star on the cap, and you can also look at the length, grooves, and kind of shape of that. I would say for his age, I would say appropriately under 10. So I would buy 8. I'm also going to check his teeth. So I'm going to take 2 fingers and kind of just slide up, and I'm going to feel that buccal surface of the upper arcade. Again, not every horse is going to let you do this non-sedated, so you want to, again, watch where your head is at and just make sure that you're listening to what they're telling you. You good boy. I know. Okay. So I'm going to come over here. He's been really good. Right here is your jugular groove. If you're going to do any kind of access to your vein, you're going to want to come into the upper 1/3. I'm just going to check to make sure that it fills quite nicely. He's a more muscular boy, so the jugular groove isn't as prominent. You're more than welcome to pass. Okay. And then some of the other things I'm going to kind of just look where I'm here. Horses have a tendency to want to deposit fat on their top crest. So I'm just going to kind of pinch it and see horses that have a nice developed top line. So we're looking from across the top of the neck, across the back, going to the buttock, onto the hindquarters. The muscle, if it's muscle and you poke into it, if it feels bouncy, that's muscle. If it feels quite spongy, it's going to be more than likely fat. Some other areas that they can kind of put some fat on, this is a pretty common area. He's got just a little bit. They will also, I will want to run my hands across the ribs. I don't want to see the ribs, but I want to feel them. If I kind of get a nice little good push in there, and he was very good about that. I can feel those ribs. They like to put fat here, a little bit here, and also in the top of their tail head. So I'll look at that. Horses who might be over-conditioned will have a negative crease. So sometimes people say that can hold water. And if they are maybe too thin, they might have a positive crease, like a tent or something like that. So I'm quite pleased with his top line. Some other things that I might check is, I know you good boy. You can just kind of feel, palpate through their neck. And you have to press really hard. Remember, they kind of follow like an S curve. You can also take a pen or something that's a little bit blunt and just come across and make sure those nerves are intact. So I'm just kind of following along where the transverse process and the transverse shelf might be. And they should have that natural like tucking under their butt. And he responded quite well, so I'm very happy with that. All right, so now we're going to do some auscultation. First, we're going to listen to the heart, then we're going to do some lungs, and we're going to listen to some gut sounds. So coming in, For your heart, for horses, you're gonna listen to on the left side, just making sure he knows I'm here. Good boy. You're gonna wanna come way down into this heart girth area. You can ask him to step up a little bit. I'm gonna listen for 15 seconds. And then just times by 4. Good boy. So he's at about like 36, he's pretty chill. And then we're gonna do some lung sounds. And I'm gonna use my borders here, so transverse shelf, coming up to tuber coxae, down to the point of elbow, draw myself a line. And we're gonna do kind of a cranial portion as well as a caudal portion, and just make sure that I am not sitting on a rib, because that will make it more difficult to listen. He's unremarkable. And then for breathing right before we go into gut sounds, I will actually time it for 15 seconds and watch from the side as he goes up and down. Some people can do it by listening. I think this is more accurate. 2, 3. So he's about 3 times 4, 12. So he's very chill. That is still in your normal range. And then we're gonna do, just kind of continue with our gut sounds on both sides, as well as lung sounds on the other side as well. You can hear some movement there. Gut sounds there. Just make sure I'm staying close, and then I'll probably just ask him to give me a little bit more space. Excuse me. Thank you. Following my borders again. I know. Unremarkable. Here I should get a lot of gut sounds. We're sitting above the cecum. And you'll hear like a nice like toilet flush or a bubbling cauldron, I like to think. That was really good one. So I would say all lung fields are clear, border barigny sounds, and all 4 quadrants. Then we're just gonna take, hi Baba, I'm gonna move your butt over. We're gonna take a rectal temp. So stand to the side, put my hip to hip. I know. And make sure you get all the way in there, and that you try to angle towards the side so you're not pulling the temperature of the fecal ball, and you truly are getting internal temperature. That was good, 97.6. Switch that on. Okay, and we're gonna do distal limbs to finish this out on the close exam. Okay, coming down. Feeling joint spaces, looking at range of motion. I'm gonna palpate tendons coming down, superficial, your deep, suspensory. Coming down for a digital pulse. Unremarkable. And then I already cleaned these out earlier, but you're gonna wanna make sure, if you don't have it already or the client hasn't already, make sure that you are fully clean so you can visualize your hoof, look at angles. Good boy. And we're just gonna kind of keep going with that same thing, kind of feeling joints. Relax, relax. Oh my God. Looking for kind of smelling, looking for any rocks or debris that shouldn't be in there. Put down. I'm gonna ask him to weight his foot. I know, it's rude. And he He thinks that I'm trying to ask him to pick his foot up, but I just want to check his pulses. Now I'm just kind of palpating around, stifle up here, lock down here. We're gonna come to the other side. Boy. Boy. Relax, relax, relax. Looks good here, just a little bit of mud. Fairly common in Ohio. Good boy. Do last one. And just make sure when you're standing in the back that you are to the side and you are paying attention to their body language. And being very careful not to hit the frog. Relax, relax. Okay, so with your locomotion exam, that can be a very specific to just sports. Some equine vets include just a brief locomotion exam, part of their general physical. So we're just gonna do a brief walk down and back, trot there and back, looking at normal kind of movement, proprioception. We're not gonna do any flexions or extensions because I would put that in the more advanced category, okay? First, I kind of wanna make sure that we can back up, come forward, okay? Usually you would like to do this with an additional tech so that the vet can stand on the line either directly behind or directly in front or from the side. But because there's two of us, for the safety of my other partner, I'm going to perform it and then kind of show you what it looks like and tell you what I'm looking for when I come back. When I'm turning away my horse, you always want to push your horse out of your space and not toward. And then I'm going to ask for a little trot. And then we're going to come back. Good boy. Notice how I was keeping a good hold on the lead, but I still had movement with the lead because we want to see what his head is doing, if he's giving any indications of pain. When you're looking either from the side or from the front or back, you're looking for symmetry. You're looking up the following up of the stride, placement of hooves, head bobbing, any of all the things. And then we'll just do a little turn. I'm looking for placement of his feet to make sure that he's abducting and adducting correctly. You gotta get them moving a little bit, making sure he's not swinging and throwing his feet down and that we're moving correctly. I would say for the locomotion part of the general physical exam, that's about where you would leave it. If you do want to do more things, that usually is followed up with diagnostics or flexions, extensions, and lunging. Okay, and the last thing that I try to do is I want to just check the motion of his neck. I usually save this toward the end because you have treats, and I don't want to teach him to be mouthy or they can be not paying attention. So he sees I have it. He's cheating a little bit, but I'm going to see if he can come all the way around and touch his shoulder. Good boy. Sometimes if the horse doesn't isn't doing what you ask at first, they might just not understand the game. So you have to be patient. Okay, I'm quite pleased with that. And then we're gonna try kind of going down and under. This one's a little bit harder because they don't understand this one as much. Very good boy. And last one towards the ceiling. Okay. This one's hard because they're taller than I am. Good boy. And throughout all these exams, I've been looking also at the hair coat of this horse. It's important to note that this horse in particularly is clipped. See how he has some of his longer winter hair coat here, shorter here. He's got a nice gloss to it. I would say that his hair coat is quite healthy. I don't see any patches, random bumps or lumps. And something else too with your mare's geldings and stallions, you want to try to visualize underneath them. This horse is young and he's not a huge fan of trying to be all up in his grill. So we're going to just protect ourselves and see if we can see any kind of swelling or trauma around like the teeth or penis. He's currently sheathed, so we can only see what he's showing us, and we'll call that okay for now without sedating him.